Now let's jump over to vocals real quick. My vocal chain is pretty simple and straightforward. For my vocals, I'm also doing bus processing, right? So I have lead bus, I have a backup bus, I have a ad-lib bus, and I have a hook bus. So all of this is going through similar but different processing just to differentiate the tone and the sound. For my lead bus, I have the NS1 from Wave. Technically, I don't use it a lot. I mean, for example, it's just on 0. Nothing is happening, but it's just there just in case I need it. But if I did the recording, there's not going to be noise because, yeah, that's Fab Pro. I did this recording, by the way. And I'm also using the FabFilter Pro Q EQ to remove whistling points in the record, aka bad annoying frequencies. Most people just use the normal EQ and just cut off the bad frequencies and whatnot. But I find that when you use normal EQ to just cut off the frequencies, it also has the tendency to take out some frequencies that you also don't want to take out. That's the reason why this is a much better technique. Let me show you how this works from scratch. So this is the vocal. You might not be able to hear it, but I can hear some annoying frequencies already. And this is a very beautiful way to do this with this EQ. Select a point to the frequency range, and then you make it dynamic. Very important. And the next thing you want to do is set your Q to be a very tight Q, or Q is basically another one for your bandwidth, right? So tight bandwidth. So I'm just going to go like 10. So that's tight. Now, the beautiful thing about the FabFilter Pro Q3 EQ is you can solo the frequency range that you're trying to listen to, right? So I'm just going to click solo and play. So as you can see, we're currently listening to the selected frequency range. Now, the next thing to do is just sweep across. I can hear some ringing. That's obviously one frequency that's going to be very annoying when you start compressing. So now that we found one point, I'm going to continue and look for more points. So let me just click here, do the same thing, set my Q to be a tight Q, and then I'm going to solo and sweep. Yeah, that's another one. Ooh, yeah. That's one. Don't forget, you have to make it dynamic, right? Because when you make it dynamic, the EQ works like a multipressor, right? It's only going to be targeting that specific frequency that you selected. Any other sound around that frequency range is not going to be affected. But when that whistling sound hits, it's going to capture that exact one. So once I find all the whistling points, I'm just going to select everything, come down to the band dynamic range and just drop it down to about 7 dBs or just as much as I might need, right? So let me just stop at 7 dB for now. And to confirm that this is obviously all annoying frequencies, so I'm just going to boost this so we can hear what it actually sounds like. You can hear the ringing. So that's how I use the FabFilter EQ to remove ringing points in the vocals, aka bad annoying frequency. So let's check what I did already for this vocal chain, right? So I'm just gonna go back, bring that back up. So this is it before. After. Yeah, it sounds a lot smoother. I don't know if you can hear it, but it does sound a lot smoother. And then I've rolled off most of the low frequency up to like 120 hertz because I don't need it. After I've taken out all of the annoying frequencies, the next thing that I do is add a de-esser. I'm using the de-esser from Waves. My threshold is set to minus 45 dBs. My range is 15. And I am picking out harsh frequencies from 48 kilohertz and up. Let me play this. If you notice, at this point of the vocal, there's really not much sibilance to deal with. But on other parts of the record, yes. So, and whenever there's that sibilance, it's going to pick it up. You don't want to do too much de-essing so you don't start to lose presence in your vocal. So the next thing on my vocal chain is the SSL channel strip. What I'm using here is just the EQ parts to shape the tone of the vocals. I'm doing some more cuts in the low frequencies around 270 hertz, cutting up to -6 dB. Yeah, and also in the low mid, I'm doing some cuts up to -8 dBs around, I think that's what, around 800 hertz. This is going to help the vocals sit more within the mix. I'm also doing some cuts in the high mids around 3000 hertz as well, because that's usually where harshness in the vocal sits. I'm doing a -3 dB cut, keeping my bandwidth wide. So I'm doing at least a decent amount of cut across that frequency range. Same with the low mid. And then in the high frequency, I'm boosting up to 7 dBs at 16 kilohertz for that shine that you hear in the vocals. Let's listen. You see how smooth the vocal sounds. Let's play before and after. So this is before. After. You can tell the difference, right?